looking for a scoop. Still no sign of the distinguished Mr. Morse. Hard to believe such a grand poobah would be hiding out from the likes of me, especially after his big victory this week in the Supreme Court. Ah, I beg your pardon. My mother would certainly reprimand me for my poor manners. Name's Edward Healy, and as you can see, I'm a reporter with the Boston Post. You've heard of us, right? Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I thought you might be here, too, trying to catch a glimpse of His Highness. Yeah, the whole town's buzzing with the verdict in his appeal. You folks look like you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. You must be from out of town. Or from some other time zone. Right? Because this is surely one of the most salacious cases we've had in a long time. If you have a minute, I'd be happy to tell you about it. Maybe you'll give me a comment so I'll have something for my article, in lieu of a quote from the magnate of Magazine Street here. He's probably hiding out in one of these houses he owns or rents out around here. He's got them all over Cambridgeport. Probably used to hiding out from the press since we were formally banned from covering the entire appeal. Yeah, that's right. Every newspaper in town was expressly forbidden from covering this trial. Yeah? By that sanctimonious Supreme Court blowhard, Justice Barker. Yeah, that's 11 months now, since January of '94. Not one reporter has been allowed to go to one hearing or write one article about this case, which everyone wants to know about. That's never happened before, I can tell you. Yeah, it's a blatant violation of our First Amendment rights, if you want my opinion. Yeah, do you agree? Yeah. All right, here's the story. First, I guess I should introduce the combatants in this little Donnybrook. Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, weighing maybe 180 pounds on a rainy day, our very own champion, Cambridgeport's leading Republican grandee, Mr. Asa Porter Morse. Big businessman, real estate tycoon, banker, president of Cambridgeport National Bank, vice president of Cambridgeport Savings, member of the school board, alderman, two-time state representative, and one-time state senator. Young Asa came to Boston in 1840. Made his first fortune in cooperage. Cooperage? Anyone?
Barrels.
Building barrels for the mercantile trade. Give that man a cigar. And he got richer shipping manufactured goods and rum to the West Indies and Europe in his barrels. Then he made another pile as a big builder, real estate tycoon, and banker right here in dear old Cambridge. Just turned 76, by the way. A fine widower with two fine married daughters. And in the other corner, weighing just 104 pounds, seeking to terminally tarnish his reputation and restore her own fractured pride, and win a chunk of the aforementioned hard-earned fortune in the process, the seductress of Spokane, the former Mrs. Byron C. Van Houten. Back in '89, just 5 years ago, this 38-year-old beauty steamed into town, dressed like a princess, oozing southern antebellum refinement and elegance, and claimed she came from a fine high-bred family from Charleston, and moved out to California with her mama when she was just a girl. Even came here to study music at the New England Conservatory. And what unlikely, poor, defenseless Yankee should fall victim to her considerable charms? Huh? Yeah, you guessed it. Our very own crusty, hard-boiled Mayflower mogul, 73 years old, who squints up from his musty balance sheets only to have his rheumy eyes restored by the dazzling light of a living angel smiling down upon him and promising heaven on earth. Well, wouldn't you know it, he plies her with real champagne, real caviar, and to seal the deal, real estate. Really. He even gives her two houses he owns here in Cambridgeport, and second mortgages worth thousands more on property she owns back in Spokane. Well, would you believe it? His prodigal provider actually wins her southern heart, and she agrees to become his blushing bride. Ain't love grand? Well, having dear old Dad marry a woman younger than either of them was not something Asa's doting daughters had reckoned upon, even in their worst nightmares. So envisioning the family fortune moving south, they quickly overcome their filial devotion and read Dad the riot act. Also being of a practical nature, they hire an investigator to do a little detective work. And what do they discover? Well, it seems that Mrs. Van Houten hadn't quite shared her entire story. I could see you're shocked. Even though Anna Van Houten had showed Asa P. photos of her handsome aristocratic family, gracious, worldly, lily-white Anna, how shall I put this delicately, had a bit of darker blood running through her veins. You see, her mother, as it turns out, in plantation parlance, was an octoroon, or 1/8 Negro, descended from one black great-grandparent, and her father uncertain. Even worse, Anna's mother fled the censure of her disapproving fancy family and ran away with the man described as a Negro barber and moved with him and little Anna to California. They also discovered that the circumstances of Anna's divorce out in Washington were a little more complicated than she had disclosed. You see, Anna in her divorce papers claimed emotional and physical abuse. Well, as it turns out, her hubby, Byron C. Van Houten, claimed the very same in his divorce papers, that Princess Anna had threatened and terrified him. Imagine. Well, Asa's ardor turned to ashes, and he quickly foreclosed the Van Houten proposal account in early 1892. Anna, feeling horribly betrayed and brokenhearted, licked her wounds and sought solace in the best lawyer in town and sued for 60,000 clams, claiming breach of promise. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we in the news biz call a very juicy scandal, with a little bit of everything, sugared by the oh-so-complicated frosting of race. I have to tell you, people, that here in Massachusetts, even though we led the charge for abolition and left thousands dead on southern battlefields, there still is very little fraternity or understanding between Boston's white and colored communities. And Anna Van Houten, even though she looked as white as a Gibson girl, to most of white Boston, she is as black as coal. And nothing makes white society quite so uncomfortable as having a Negro or a member of any other recently arrived minority, for that matter, passing as one of them. Well, amazingly, the first trial sided with Anna. Yeah. The judge could find no statute requiring her to reveal her racial composition or requiring her to reveal her entire past, certainly nothing prohibiting unwise marriages. And he instructed the jury that way. They made a quick work of it, claiming for the first time in our history that a formal public announcement of an engagement is indeed a valid contract under the law. And they awarded Anna $40,000 in damages. $40,000! Well, Asa and his lawyers were flabbergasted, and they immediately filed an appeal. And just the other day, our state Supreme Court reversed the lower court's decision in Asa's favor. All four judges unanimously declared that both parties have an obligation to represent themselves truthfully, and that the evidence, like those fine photos Anna had shared with Asa of her handsome aristocratic family, actually sustained his claim of fraud because they showed a European-looking family without a trace of African appearance. Moreover, they somehow concluded that Anna's stepfather's status as a Negro barber was further proof of her true racial identity, even though she had no blood relation to him at all. Well, folks, a lot of us think that race anxiety is what's behind this verdict. And I have to tell you, you know what's strangest about all this? Right here in righteous Massachusetts, the standard the court used in their decision is that if a man has one drop of Negro blood, he is a Negro. To them and to most of white Boston, Anna Van Houten, despite all her charm and accomplishments, as white as she looks, is a dangerous charlatan, a poseur, and as black as any former slave sharecropping in Georgia. Well, here's the kicker. In Charleston, South Carolina, home of the Confederacy, where the Civil War began, Anna Van Houten, having just 1/8 or less Negro ancestry, by South Carolina state law, is as white as Asa P. How do you like that? Makes you wonder if this country will ever truly recognize all men as created equal, doesn't it? You hear that? That sounds like a carriage coming up the back driveway. That could be Asa P coming home. I gotta run, folks. I got some serious questions for him. That's a false alarm. It's not him.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Y'all have any questions? Since you seem to know so little about our case?
Took down